Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Ridge. Purpose of today's video is to talk about this document right here, the Declaration of Independence. Better late than never. Been teaching the last 4 days, but let's go ahead and talk about it as it's one of the most important documents in history. I would put it right up there with the Magna Carta. The people that signed this document right here were signing their own death warrant. They were signing a declaration of treason against themselves. These people were mostly well-to-do. They had nothing to gain and everything to lose when they did it. And this document enumerates a lot of things, but the biggest thing that it does is it gives justification for our separation from Great Britain. This wasn't a civil war, this is a separation. We were trying to establish our own sovereign country and break away from the crown, break away from the parliament. This is a very bold document and it's very well written. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, all on the draft committee, very eloquently worded. But one of the most important aspects of this document is that our rights come from the Creator and by virtue of our humanity. I think that's a break from what most European thought was at the time. At the time, most people in Europe thought that the rights were privileges, basically, granted down by the crown and nobility. In other words, rights were given by other men. Well, this document changed it. The basis of Western civilization is that our rights come from the Creator or by virtue of our humanity, the laws of nature and nature's God. This is a huge, huge statement that said human beings' rights, natural rights, cannot be taken away by other men. Of course, this document had its enemies back then, as it does now. 242 years ago, there were many people living in the colonies, well, states, after this document. But there were many people there that sided with the crown. They're called Tories. They sided with the King of England over their fellow brother and sister colonists. And see, they didn't want American freedom back then either. 242 years ago, there were people living amongst patriots that didn't want freedom. They didn't want freedom for themselves, and they didn't want freedom for their fellow Americans either. They were wrong 242 years ago, and they're wrong today. There are modern Tories that live amongst us, folks. There are modern Tories out there all over the place that hate the idea of American exceptionalism, that hate the idea of the Declaration of Independence, and they really hate the idea that our rights come from the Creator. You see, they view rights as things that should be readily stripped away. And instead of looking at our Constitution as a blueprint against government, they use it as the enabler to expand government power, to give government power that it never had. So their whole idea of liberty is that they should be taken away rather than protected. They're all out among us right now. Watch them rant and rave. Watch them rant and rave that every cause that they have involves taking away the liberty of everybody else. No freedom of speech, no right to keep and bear arms. They believe that government should be able to illegally search and seizure when their people are in power. All of this stuff still applies. This document is more relevant today than it was when it was written 242 years ago. See, Thomas Jefferson knew human trends. He knew human tendencies. And by the way, he was a very astute historian as well. He knew the trends of tyranny. He knew that people would eventually grow tired of others trying to tell them what to do all the time. And that's why this document was created. And I see on the news out there, there are so many people that say, oh, I'm not proud of Independence Day. I'm not proud to be an American. You know what's funny is that I get emails all the time from people across the world, people in Britain, people in Germany, people in Norway, Sweden, South Africa, Argentina, Panama, you name, all over the world, people send emails and say, I wish that I could be in the United States. I wish that we had the rights that you had. I would gladly come and become a naturalized American citizen. So all you people out there shrieking against this document, all you people shrieking against our first, second, through the first 10 amendments, all you people shrieking against that, if you really want your socialist utopia, why don't you change places? Why don't you get the hell out of my country and why don't you go change places with people that actually want to believe in our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence? If you're so freaking unhappy and you want to whine and complain about how horrible America is, you are more than welcome to leave. Because you know what? Your ancestors were a lot smarter than you. Your Tory ancestors either went back to Great Britain after they got their butts whooped, or they went up to Canada, where they're still subjects, still subject to the crown. And in America, we're citizens. And there's a big difference between a citizen and a subject. And if you know anything about world history, you'll know that citizens' rights are granted to us by the Creator, that we do not grovel at the king's table for crumbs and privileges. And another thing to consider this, only in the United States of America Could a 19-year-old multimillionaire who gets paid to run around on a wooden court and throw a leather ball through a steel hoop whine and not celebrate Independence Day? You're a multimillionaire, dude. You're a multimillionaire who and only in this country could you do what you've done. Only in this country. And if you want to explore options elsewhere, see ya. But I want to end on a positive note. I want to end on a note that shines an example of who these men were and what they accomplished when they drafted and signed the Declaration of Independence. Because what they did for the first time in history was break away from a tyrannical power and institute a form of government that is one of the oldest in the world right now. It's survived this long despite modern Tories and Tories of the past in our midst that want to grovel at the feet of the crown. And that is not what America is. America is the opposite of that. America is self-sufficiency. Americans have a right to keep and bear arms. Americans have a right to self-defense. Americans have a right to free speech. And if you don't like that, as the old saying goes, tough titty said the kitty, but the milk was good anyway. If you found the information in the video helpful, subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Facebook. That link is down below. If you want to learn American history as well as how to defend yourself, come on out to Valley Ridge and we can teach you how to do just that. This is Reid Henrichs with Valley Ridge reminding you the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.